Hello, this is Dave Hurwitz, Executive Editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with a prequel. You may have seen the video where we talked about the sequel to Ravel's Daphnis and Chloe. Well, today we're going to talk about the prequel to Stravinsky's The Firebird, another ballet, but the prequel here is not quite a ballet. It kind of is. Now, one of the things that's so fascinating about Stravinsky as a composer is never has any genius so completely new and original based so much music on other people's tunes and other people's basic ideas. In that sense, Stravinsky wasn't original at all. He was entirely original in treatment, not in his ability to come up with musical material, but rather in the way he handled it and what he did with it and how he made it sound. And that was just an extraordinary thing. So I'm going to take a moment and play the Infernal Dance from the Firebird. Listen to this. Now, this is an incredibly popular piece. Everybody knows it, right? And especially that main tune, do 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 do, right? I mean, it's like the only thing that's more popular in the Firebird is the very ending, da 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 da, etc. But the Infernal Dance is the big number in the Firebird and the most exciting one. It sounds somehow indefinably Russian, as well as totally new and demonic. I mean, it's an infernal dance, right? But, there happens to be a very, very, very fascinating prequel to the Infernal Dance from the Firebird, and it's by Stravinsky's teacher, Rimsky-Korsakov. Now, Rimsky-Korsakov, of course, was just as involved as Stravinsky was in writing mostly operas about fairy tale subjects, Russian mythology, that kind of stuff. But, the thing about Rimsky's operas is that nobody plays them, and nobody plays them in the West. Nobody performs them. Thank God Valery Gergiev recorded a bunch of them, and there were some others, on Capriccio, recorded in Bulgaria, and some other things. They've been around. They've been recorded, but you won't find complete recordings of them frequently available, and you won't find them performed on Western stages. And so aside from the suites, we don't really get to hear a lot of their most characteristic and interesting music. But that music, as people have known for a long time, of course, was heavily, heavily, heavily influential on the young Stravinsky, particularly Le Coq d'Or and Tsar Sultan and the strange chromatic harmonies that are created often by the use of what are called octatonic scales. Now, an octatonic scale, it's a very technical term, is simply a scale, any 8-note scale, in alternating half steps and whole steps. And they just alternate for 8 notes, and you get a kind of a scale, which creates a very, very, very odd and curious and somewhat alien-sounding chromatic harmony. And it's really quite fascinating, although the official originator of the octatonic scale, as I happen to know, thanks to my association and friendship with Sylvia Kahan, the noted musicologist and student of French music, was the Prince Edmond de Polignac, who in 1879 wrote the first treatise, a formal treatise on octatonic harmony. Anyway, that's a side, sort of a little digression there. The fact of the matter is that Stravinsky not only was inspired by Rimsky-Korsakov, you might say he borrowed some of Rimsky-Korsakov's ideas and converted them to his own use. Nowhere more so than in the famous, unique, theoretically original Infernal Dance from the Firebird. The work that he borrowed from Rimsky-Korsakov was Mlada. This is an opera ballet in several scenes, and the third act, the Night on Mount Triglav, which is right here, the Night on Mount Triglav, is a completely separate piece. Essentially what Rimsky-Korsakov did was say, just play all the orchestral parts and took out the vocal bits, and you have the Night on Mount Triglav, a multi-section tone poem which consists of the entire third act of Mlada. And that third act contains something called not the Danse Infernal, but actually the Ronde Infernal. And here is the setup to the Ronde Infernal, the scene leading into it. And now, let me take a moment and just play you a bit of the actual Ronde Infernal. I can't pronounce it. The Ronde Infernal itself. Just listen to this little bit of it. It really is fascinating. And there it is, right? There is da 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 ba da. There's Stravinsky's tune in Mlada. It's just really just plain as day. And of course, Stravinsky must have known it. And I'm not trying to make these points in order to, accuse Stravinsky of plagiarism. When his music was first performed back in Russia, especially in the Soviet Union after the revolution, it was sneered at because Russian critics basically said, oh, he just stole Rimsky-Korsakov, or he stole Russian folk tunes as a way to pander to the taste for exoticism in the evil capitalist West. That was the official line on Stravinsky. But that's not the case at all. He is the logical successor to Rimsky-Korsakov, and I think that his use of both octatonic harmony in his early works and sometimes his borrowing of tunes that we've heard elsewhere, it happens even more graphically in Petrushka. If you want to have quite an experience, listen to Balakirov's overture on 3 Russian themes, and then listen to Petrushka, and Tchaikovsky's Fourth Symphony, for that matter, the finale. This was Russian music. It was a body of music that was available for the taking. And I think in this particular case, Stravinsky deserves full credit, obviously, for the transformations that he wrought on this body of material that he was able to use. But there isn't any question that Rimsky-Korsakov deserves credit for having used this material first, and he deserves credit also as a great composer whose work and whose originality, especially today, is completely ignored. It's totally disregarded. Completely disregarded. He doesn't get any respect at all, except as someone who wrote pretty picture postcard, nice orchestrations of, nice Russian folk tunes. But there was a heck of a lot more to Rimsky-Korsakov, and I think Stravinsky is just the person to show that to us. And that's why I wanted to mention this prequel. Now, if you want to get A Night on Mount Triglav, it's been recorded several times. This version is on Naxos, and Naxos actually has 2 of them. This is the later one with Igor Golovschin and the Moscow Symphony Orchestra. It's definitely worth having because it comes with the extended Christmas Eve suite, which is wonderful. It's beautiful. I got to play it. I loved it. It was gorgeous. And the Tsar's Bride, Overture and Procession, and then 2 short works, On the Tomb and Greetings, a wonderful disc of Rimsky-Korsakov orchestral music on Naxos. And so you can grab it and listen to The Night on Mount Triglav and have just a terrific prequel of Stravinsky's The Firebird and reestablish this beautiful, beautiful chain of music and artistic creation that moved from one generation to the next in a whole series of Russian composers. We can also do the prequel to Rimsky-Korsakov if we wanted to, but that's okay. I think this is enough for now. I hope you've enjoyed this talk. If you did, do please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Tell all your friends both to subscribe and, above all, to keep on listening. Thank you so much.